Hi, my name is Neil Chandaria from Advanced Careers, Energy and Sustainability Recruitment Specialist. Welcome to our Sustainability Thought Leadership Series. We'll be speaking with Australia's most progressive leaders in sustainability, renewable energy, and ESG. Today, I'm joined by Ernst Young's partner of global ESG, Decarbonisation and Safety, Climate and Sustainability, Shailesh Tyagi. Shailesh has 19 years experience in ESG and sustainability and has worked across two of the big four consultancies and also set up his own sustainability consultancy. Shailesh, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks for the opportunity.
So, Shailesh, you've an impressive career across Deloitte, EY, and setting up your own consultancy. Tell us about your career journey and how you got into ESG.
Look, Neil, I got into the world of sustainability and climate change because of two words, Kyoto Protocol. So as a young engineer, I came to know that carbon may be a commodity. I'm talking about late 90s. And the thought really excited me. So that was one. And then I explored the space of sustainability, understanding how companies can create value from human capital, social capital, natural capital, right? And got more and more interested. So never look back. So that was the start. And I've really seen the whole journey where companies saw sustainability as philanthropy. And now it's like fiduciary duty, right? Companies are making value, creating value. So that's where my whole thinking started. And never look back. So more than 20 years now. But yes, 19 years directly in ESG, sustainability and safety.
Wow, super impressive career. What impact have you witnessed in your clients' businesses who have implemented effective ESG strategies?
So look, the whole ESG has taken sustainability right into the boardroom, right? The discussion with the C-suite, it's all around what are my material, environmental, and social criterias, aspects, what are underlying social governance, climate governance, sustainability governance aspects, and what are some of the risks, what are the opportunities, and how I can quantify the qualitative impacts. And of course, if I can quantify them, as I mentioned, even better. So companies are looking at that. And once they understand the impacts around these material aspects, then they can inform their strategy, they can inform their risk assessment processes. And of course, that helps them write an effective report, right? It's a crisp, I always use these three words, Neil: crisp, interconnected, and effective communication that meets the need of the value chain stakeholders. So that's essentially is happening.
Yeah. And sort of just broadening that a little bit, talk to me about quantifying it. Like why, that's kind of like in my opinion, and it's become kind of more important these days to being able to quantify it. It used to kind of feel like a bit of a checkbox exercise, tick, we've done that. But now it's people are looking for statistics and numbers around that. Talk to me about that and how that's kind of impacting boardroom decisions.
So look, at the moment, at the boardroom, the discussions are around how a company can get their ESG proposition right? That's where the companies are looking at. Then they are looking at the value creation levers. They are looking at, all right, we know that there are obvious benefits out of getting this ESG proposition right, whether it's top line growth, cost advantage, human productivity, employee productivity, and various other factors. But then people love on a placemat if they love numbers, right? The CFOs, they love numbers. And that's where I think your question is coming from, where how the whole lens of ESG can be converted into qualitative and quantitative, a healthy mix in terms of what is the impact. So if I'm tomorrow investing money into a social program, what's the impact of my program? So for example, Neil, let's take this as an example. If I have $100 to invest, and if I invest $100 in helping 5 women get a job and the income in their households is less than $10, that's one way of making an impact. I have the same $100, or I take those $100 and I make use of creating opportunity in 5 families who are already earning $50, right? So you understand the concept. So if I have a way where I can quantify the impact so that I can relate back into my social return on investment, I can relate into my strategy around ESG, that's where it's all about making the maximum impact. How we go about it very quickly, it's around having the whole capital approach, as I mentioned. We call it 6 capitals, we call it 4 capitals, but it's all around the 4 capitals of natural, social, human, and financial, as I mentioned, and how you really find a way to gauge the impacts, whether it's through your water program, through your emissions, through internal carbon pricing, or of course, the example I gave around social. So those are some of the ways, Neil, giving you a helicopter view of things. But there are methodologies which companies can do, and we help companies in that space.
Brilliant. Now, focusing more on EY, and as you can see from your beautiful background there, EY has got a net zero target by 2025. Many businesses have sort of set their sights on 2050, from what I'm reading. Why? Well, what is EY doing in order to achieve this ambitious target?
Look, Neil, it's a great initiative by EY, and I know, I mean, you're doing some wonderful work as well, as I'm aware of that. but look, very inspiring. Look, I think it's all coming from the lens of controlling the narrative. Really, it's around what's a company's narrative when it comes down to decarbonization, when it comes down to energy transition, when it comes down to energy of the future. Companies want to understand what practical steps they can take in terms of reducing their emissions to the lowest possible number, say as per science-based target, right? And the remaining then can be offsetted, right? But then first they want to have a conscious effort around emission management and reduction, and so that they are taking those a conscious effort around that. And I think it all comes down to controlling the narrative, saying this is where we stand, this is what we are doing, and that's where we are going. So look, whether it's a big mining and metals company or it's a small, I would say, consulting, it's all around taking those concrete steps towards a cleaner future.
And you kind of touched upon on a point there. So we often sort of talk to people in medium-sized, even large businesses. What sort of tips would you give to business leaders who are considering setting up an ESG program?
No, absolutely, great question, Neil. In fact, honestly, even now when I go and talk to companies, whether back home in Australia or here in India, what I have seen, companies, they sometimes struggle to understand ESG, and the struggle comes that all our lives we're talking about sustainability. Now it's ESG, but I think the confusion shouldn't be there, simply because we are defining very clearly what are some of the aspects around environment and relationships and employees, which is human capital, social capital, that are relevant for a company. My 60-second spill to companies in that space is very simple. Don't overcomplicate. ESG is not about writing a fancy report. It's all about value-led discussions, value-led reporting. So how you go about it, again, the world materiality, have a very robust materiality assessment process, understand what's important to you, what's important to your value chain stakeholders, what companies are doing in your sector, in your geography, what regulators are saying, make an informed decision. Once you have done that, identify the narrative in a way that it directly links to your material aspects, identify the KPIs, again, linking it to your material aspects, and there should be a direct linkage to a value creation. Come up with a value creation story. If you are able to do this, that's what it is. If you're able to do this, this is what your stakeholders need to see: an effective communication, effective story, which is just an outcome at the end.
Yeah. And so what I'm hearing here, and this is my simplistic view on the world, of course, is it's not one shoe fits all. You have to kind of make your ESG strategy very specific to your business, and specifically at looking at what you're trying to achieve. So it's more about understanding where your carbon footprint is as an individual company and where those savings or reductions can be made. Fair call?
Absolutely, Neil. And look, to sum up, I've done a lot of work in the mining sector, as you know, in Australia, right? And if I'm going into one of the largest underground mine in Australia, of course, my take is that let's look at your ventilation and methane, let's look at the GOF drainage, surface to in seam, and then look at accuracy of reporting. Let's look at how I can take gas and generate power, how I can manage my flaring. So that's altogether a different game, right? But when I go and look at, say, a technology company, it's totally different when it comes to if that company wants to go for carbon neutrality, as an example. So it's very specific to your sector, very specific to your energy landscape. And also, of course, regulation. So just to add, in Australia, we have national greenhouse gas energy reporting, right? Companies have become very mature in having a robust reporting process, right? It doesn't matter which sector, at least the large companies are, who meets the threshold. In other parts of the world, companies are still on that path where they want to have that robust measurement process, reporting process. So regulations are helping a lot in Australia. But now we have another regulation, I wouldn't say regulation or mandatory requirement, where companies really need to understand their climate-related financial disclosures, climate risks, as you're saying, what's happening in New Zealand, what's happening in other parts of the world. So yeah, it's ever evolving expectations from the regulators, value chain stakeholders, but it all comes down to, as you mentioned, which sector you are in, what's your energy mix, what's your stakeholders are saying, what's your value chain mix is, and you have to make it very specific to your stakeholders. Absolutely.
And so finally, a question, obviously, from our side of the table. Now, the ESG world, and we can break that down into carbon, we can break it down into carbon accounting, we can go into all sorts of areas. But as a whole, the sector as a whole is quite talent short, right? The amount of talent, especially in the Asia Pacific region, which is the region that Advanced Careers focus on, it's quite small, the talent pool. So a question we get asked a lot if by candidates looking to move into that sector, they may be working in renewable energy at the moment and they may be doing engineering there or something like that. What tips would you give them on getting into more of a holistic ESG type of role?
Look, on a lighter note, I remember when I used to do recruitment, say in Sydney, I was looking for people with a nice combination of engineering and accounting. If someone has a double degree, definitely he or she will be my favorite to recruit, right? But look, on a serious note, I think my tip is that if you understand the real world issues, if the candidates really understand what are some of the business challenges when it comes down to the world of sustainability or ESG, I think they are all set to get into this space. Of course, some understanding, if whether you come from the digital world or you come from the world of sustainability in terms of reporting, or you come from the world of supply chain, human capital, we need people from all skill sets. But that's where the problem lies, right? I mean, as you know, gone are the days when companies' issues were about reporting or doing a carbon mitigation project. Right? I've seen my career growth. Now it's all about taking a company strategy, business transformation, giving them new ideas, new solutions. And it needs a wider skill set, a broader skill set, wider set of people, with the broader skill sets. So look, the challenge remains because let's take safety as an example. In safety performance, when it comes down to the software elements, it's very difficult to find people, right? Let's go into the world of decarbonization. Companies, there are people who can help corporations come up with their reporting inventory on carbon and energy. They can do scenario analysis. They can do all set of models. They can do TCFD, climate risk related financial disclosure reporting. But what about the PI? What about the process improvements, right? How you can really help company have those meaningful reductions. Imagine the world of mining and metals, how we can get an expert who understands these aspects, as I mentioned, but also go and help the company make those process improvement, right, of the future. Then how we bring in a strategy guy on blue hydrogen, green hydrogen, biofuels, carbon capture and storage, who really understand and align it to a company. So look, so the challenge remains how we bring in one person with that skill set, but that's where the answer lies. One person. It doesn't have to be one person. You need to create a team of complementary skill sets, and that's I think that's my answer, Neil.
Yeah. Fantastic. Some really good advice there. So Shailesh, thank you for your time today. And you can also follow Advanced Careers on LinkedIn, so please do. And watch out for our next part of this series. Many thanks.
Thanks, Neil. Thank you.